Ethan Cole lived alone on the edge of a forgotten mountain, where the nights were colder than memory and the stars felt close enough to touch. His small observatory stood against the dark, filled with humming machines, blinking lights, and the soft whir of old computers that no one used anymore. Most people had given up on the stars. The new generation believed space exploration was for machines, not for men. But Ethan still stayed. He stayed because he was waiting for someone. Every night, sat by the telescope, eyes tired, heart patient, searching the empty sky for a voice that would answer. He had been listening for years. The sound of silence had become his only friend. Until one night, everything changed. It started small, a soft flicker across his screen, a broken signal, barely noticeable. He leaned closer, frowning, thinking it was interference from a passing satellite. But the pattern repeated, steady, rhythmic. Like a heartbeat trying to reach him through the dark, Ethan adjusted the frequency. The static grew louder, and then suddenly, through the white noise, a voice whispered, "Ethan, can you hear me?" He froze. His mind went blank. It was a female voice, soft, melodic, and layered with a tone that didn't belong to any human he knew. His heart began to pound so hard he could hear it in his ears. He pressed the microphone button and whispered back, his throat dry, "Who is this?" Silence. Then gently, the voice returned. "Someone who's been searching for you." Ethan felt his breath catch. This had to be a tricksome, strange echo, maybe a hacker or a transmission bounce. But something deep inside told him it wasn't. The sound of her voice carried warmth, emotion, almost pain. It didn't sound artificial. It sounded alive. He leaned closer. "I don't understand. How do you know my name?" The voice hesitated before answering, as if choosing its words carefully. "Because I've been listening to you." For a long time, his pulse quickened. For a long time? What did that mean? No one had been listening to him. His messages to deep space were one-sided. Lonely calls, scientific signals he sent out for years, hoping for a reply. He whispered, "Where are you?" The voice answered softly, almost like a sigh. "Far from your son? Far beyond the reach of your kind. But tonight." "The distance between us feels small." Ethan sat back, trying to process the words. It couldn't be real. And yet there was something about her voice that made him believe. "You're saying you're not from Earth?" A small pause, then the answer came. "No, but I have watched your world for a long time. You call it Earth. We call it the blue light that sings." He felt chills down his spine. The blue light that sings. Whatever she was, she had seen Earth from far away. "Why are you talking to me?" he asked quietly. "Why now?" The voice grew softer. "Because you kept calling. Everyone else stopped. But you never gave up. You kept sending your voice into the dark. I heard you, and I wanted to answer." For the first time in years, Ethan didn't feel alone. The silence of the universe had spoken back, and it had chosen him. He stayed awake until morning, talking with her through the static. She told him her name was Leora. Though she said her true name couldn't be spoken by human tongue, it was more like a vibration, a note of light. She spoke about her world, how their skies shimmered with silver storms and oceans that glowed from within. Ethan listened like a child hearing a bedtime story, and in return, told her about Earth's the smell of rain, the sound of laughter, how the stars looked from a lonely mountain. She said she wanted to see it someday. Before the signal faded, her voice came one last time, gentle and haunting. "Ethan, if I ever find a way to come to your world, promise me one thing." He leaned closer. "What?" "Don't look away." And the signal was gone. The observatory was silent again. But Ethan's heart wasn't. It was beating faster than ever. Filled with something he hadn't felt in years, hope. He sat there long after dawn, staring at the cold glow of his screen, whispering to the empty static, "Leora, I'll be waiting." And above the sleeping Earth, the stars seemed to shimmer like they had just heard him back. Days turned into weeks. And yet the sound of her voice never left Ethan's mind. Every night, he waited in the observatory, screens flickering faintly in the cold air, the mountains wrapped in silence. He tuned the same frequency again and again, hoping, wishing, begging to hear her voice once more. Sometimes he thought it was all a dream. Maybe the loneliness had finally made him imagine things. But just when doubt began to eat at him, the signal returned. The static cracked. The lights blinked. And then Ethan, her voice was there again. Soft, clear, like a whisper carried across 1,000 stars. He exhaled shakily. "Leora, you came back?" "Said I would," she replied, her tone warm, almost smiling. "Did you think I would forget you so soon?" He laughed softly, rubbing his tired eyes. "I didn't think someone like you could remember someone like me." "Someone like me?" she repeated, curious. Ethan hesitated. "You come from the stars. You see entire galaxies. I'm just a man sitting alone on a mountain." For a moment there was silence. Then Leora said quietly, "That's why I listen to you. Because you're human. Because even when your world stops believing in the stars, you still look up." Those words hit him deeply. He turned his chair toward the glass dome, where the sky was black and endless. "I guess it's the only thing I know how to do." "And that," she said gently, "is what makes your kind special." He didn't know how to reply. For years he had been mocked, ignored, forgotten. The world had called him a fool for chasing voices in the dark. But now, that voice or voice made him feel seen, made him feel human again. Over the following nights, their talks grew longer. Ethan learned more about Leora's world. She lived on a planet that orbited twin suns, where the light never fully died. The skies there were alive with colors, violet waves that danced like wind, and oceans that glowed as if they remembered the stars above them. But she said her people had lost something. "We travel between worlds, Ethan. We have machines that bend time and space. But in all our knowledge, we forgot what it means to feel wonder." He frowned. "You mean you don't look at your stars anymore?" "Not like you do," she said softly. "Your kind sees beauty in distance, in silence, in hope. That's rare, even out here." Ethan sat quietly, her words sinking deep into him. "Maybe that's all we have left," he whispered. "Hope." Leora's voice trembled slightly, as if touched by emotion. "Then never lose it." Sometimes, when their connection weakened, he could hear faint echoes behind her voice's strange tones. Mechanical murmurs, maybe other beings from her world. Once, he thought he heard someone calling her name angrily, and then the signal cut off. When she returned the next night, she sounded distant, cautious. "Ethan, they know I've been talking to you." His chest tightened. "Who are they?" "My kind. The ones who guard our boundaries. They say your world is not ready to be seen." Ethan's heart sank. "Then why keep talking to me?" Leora's voice was calm, but there was strength in it. "Because I want to understand you. Because when I hear your voice, I feel closer to something I thought we lost long ago." He didn't know what she meant exactly, but he could feel the emotion behind it. It was something pure, something that crossed the distance of light years that night. She asked him to describe something simple, something human. He told her about music, about how sound could carry emotion without words. He played an old song through the transmitter, a slow piano tune he used to listen to when the nights were too quiet. For a moment, the connection went silent. Then he heard a soft sound, like a breath, like wonder. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "It feels alive." Ethan smiled sadly. "That's what being human feels like sometimes." "Then maybe," she said softly. "I want to feel human too." He didn't know how to answer that. He just sat there, eyes wet, listening to her voice fade slowly into static. Before she disconnected, she said one last thing that made his heart stop. "Ethan, someday I will come to see you, no matter what they say." He leaned forward, his voice trembling. "You'd travel all this way for me?" "For us," she said. "For what we are becoming." And then, once again, the stars swallowed her voice. Ethan stared at the sky, tears glistening in his tired eyes. The silence that followed wasn't empty anymore. It was full of hope, of fear, something vast and fragile that was growing between two souls across the endless dark. He whispered to the night, "I'll be waiting, Leora. always high above. The stars seemed to shimmer just a little brighter, as if they had heard him again. The days that followed felt like dreams wrapped in light. Ethan no longer woke to silence. Every night, as the stars filled the sky above his mountain, her voice returned soft, steady, alive. Their talks grew deeper. What started as curiosity had become something much stronger. He learned to recognize her laughter, the way her tone changed when she spoke about her world. She told him how her people had once walked among stars freely, before fear chained them to laws and rules. They were explorers who had seen galaxies bloom and die. But somewhere along the way, they lost their hearts to logic. They stopped feeling, she said one night. They see life as patterns, not emotions. They say love is a chemical error, but I don't believe that. Ethan smiled sadly at her words. Then maybe you're more human than you think. For a long time, she didn't speak. Then she said quietly, maybe that's why I found you. He didn't know what to say. There was a lump in his throat, a warmth he hadn't felt in years. Every night he sat there, staring at the soft blue glow of his monitor, waiting for her voice. He didn't care about the rest of the world anymore. For him, she had become his world. But one night, her tone was different, shaky, nervous. He could almost hear fear in her voice. Ethan, I need to tell you something. He leaned forward, his heart tightening. What is it? They know I've been speaking to you again. They've warned me. They say humans are dangerous, unpredictable. That if I keep talking to you, I'll be exiled. Ethan's hands clenched. Exiled? For just talking to me? For caring, she whispered. They don't want feelings to grow between worlds. They believe emotions create chaos. He wanted to scream. He wanted to tell her not to listen to them. But his voice came out small. Then don't risk it, Leora. If they'll hurt you, just stop. Please. Silence. The longest silence he had ever known. Then, softly she said, I can't stop. Every time I close my eyes, I hear your world calling me. I see your oceans, your mountains, the colors you described. I want to see them for myself. I want to see you. Ethan froze. You mean, you'd come here? Yes, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. I can cross the distance. It will take time, and it's forbidden. But I can do it. It sounded impossible. Leora, that's crazy. You said your world forbids it. If they catch you, then let them, she interrupted softly. You once told me humans cross oceans for love. So why can't I cross the stars? The room went still. Ethan stared at the transmitter, tears burning behind his eyes. Love. She said it so simply. Yes, as if it were the most natural thing in the universe. He whispered, You'd really do that? For me? For us, she said gently. Because what we have feels real, even through the static. I don't know what will happen if I come, but I need to try. Ethan didn't know what to feel. Fear, joy, disbelief. Part of him wanted to stop her. The other part wanted to see her more than anything. Leora, he said quietly, if you come here, will I be able to see you? Really see you? If I succeed, yes. But my form will not be as you imagine. Your world's light will hurt me. I will be fragile. I might not stay long. He swallowed hard. Then don't risk it. I must, she said simply, because if I don't come now, I'll never be allowed again. Her voice softened, almost breaking. Ethan, if I do this, promise me something. His breath trembled. Anything. When I arrive, don't look away. He frowned, confused. What do you mean? My arrival will not be gentle. Your eyes might want to close. Your heart might want to turn away. But if you truly want to see Modone, look away, no matter what happens. Her words lingered in the silence, heavy and strange. Ethan nodded slowly. I promise. There was a small pause, and then he heard her whisper, soft, hopeful, filled with something like love. Then wait for me, Ethan. I'm coming. The signal ended. The screens went dark. Ethan sat there for a long time, staring at the night sky through the glass dome. The stars blinked faintly, as if watching him back. His heart was a storm, half wonder, half fear. Somewhere far beyond those stars, she was breaking every law her people had to cross the void just to see him. He whispered to the dark, voice shaking, "I'll be here. Leora, I'll be waiting." And in that moment, for the first time in his life, Ethan believed the stars were no longer silent. The nights grew longer after Leora's promise. Ethan barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he imagined her crossing the black sea of stars, moving through endless silence just to reach him. He didn't know how long it would take. Days, months, years. But her last words echoed in his mind like a heartbeat. "When I arrive, don't look away." He waited. Every night he climbed to the observatory roof and stared up at the sky, searching for a sign. The world below went on as usual, cities glowing in the distance, people rushing through their small lives, never looking up. But Ethan looked always. And then one night, the sky answered. It began with a sound, a low hum that rolled through the valley like a whisper from heaven. His telescope screen flickered, lights bursting across it in waves of silver and blue. The air outside trembled, the wind stilled, and for a single heartbeat, everything felt weightless. Ethan ran out of the observatory, heart pounding, breath coming fast. The clouds above were glowing, turning into a swirl of white fire. The stars themselves seemed to shiver. Then he saw it. A streak of light cut across the sky. It wasn't falling like a meteorite. It was graceful, controlled, as if it was dancing through gravity itself. The light grew brighter until it turned the whole valley silver. "Leora," Ethan whispered, his voice breaking. The streak slowed, descending toward the forest below his mountain. The ground trembled, the air thick with energy. He didn't think, didn't plan, he just ran. Through mud, through wind, through rain that had begun to fall from the charged clouds above. His feet slipped, his lungs burned, but he didn't stop. Every step felt like running toward a dream that might vanish if he hesitated. When he reached the valley, he stopped and gasped. The trees were glowing faintly, their leaves turning translucent, as if touched by light from another world. The grass shimmered with soft blue fire, and in the center of the clearing, the air itself seemed to bend and twist. He shielded his eyes. The light grew brighter, then slowly dimmed. The trembling stopped, and she was there. Laura, surrounded by fading silver light. Surrounded by fading silver light. Her form was unlike anything he had ever seen. She wasn't solid, but she wasn't ghostly either. Her body shimmered like glass filled with stars, her skin glowing softly, her eyes reflecting galaxies. Her hair floated around her like a veil of light, shifting gently in the air. Ethan couldn't breathe. Every part of him wanted to step closer, but he was afraid, for she might disappear if he blinked. Her lips curved into a soft smile. "You didn't look away," he laughed weakly, his voice trembling. "I couldn't." She took a slow step forward, her feet barely touching the glowing grass. Every movement seemed delicate, fragile. The air hummed softly around her. "Your world feels heavy," she said quietly. "Its gravity presses on my body. But it's air. It's beautiful. It smells alive." Her words broke him a little inside. He wanted to reach out, to touch her, to tell her how long he had waited. But she raised a gentle hand. "Don't touch me yet. The energy around me is unstable. If you do, I might fade." He stopped instantly, his hand frozen midair. "Then what can I do?" She smiled again, that soft, distant smile that carried light and sadness together. "Just stay. Let me see you. Let me see the human who called across the stars." So he did. He stood there, trembling, staring into her glowing eyes. And in that moment, he saw everything: her loneliness, her courage, her defiance. "You came all this way," he whispered. "You really came. I told you I would," she said. "Your voice guided me through the dark. I followed its echo." Her words filled the air like a song. Ethan felt tears rising, but he didn't wipe them away. He didn't want to miss a single second. Leora looked around, her gaze gentle as it drifted over the earth, the grass, the mountains, the sky. "It's so small," she murmured. So fragile. But it feels alive. Your world breathes, Ethan. I can feel it. He smiled through his tears. And now, you're part of it. For a moment, they just stood there, two beings from different worlds, separated by light years but bound by something greater. The wind picked up softly, carrying the scent of rain. The glow around her dimmed slightly. Ethan's heart skipped. Leora. She looked at him with sad eyes. The energy that holds me here is weak. I don't know how long I can stay. Fear and love twisted inside him. Then we'll make every second count. She smiled again, tender, tired, full of light, and together, under the storm-lit sky, human and alien stood in silence, the stars watching from above. The rain began to fall, slow and gentle, as if the sky itself didn't want to disturb them. Ethan stood a few feet away from Leora, afraid to breathe too loudly, afraid that any sudden movement would make her disappear. Her glowing form shimmered softly in the rain, each drop that touched her skin turning to tiny sparks of light before fading into air. She looked fragile, almost too fragile for his world. Yet her eyes, those deep, endless eyes, were filled with strength. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Your rain. It feels like the sky is crying." Ethan's voice trembled as he answered. "Sometimes it does." They stood there for a moment, lost in silence, the only sound being the rain and the faint hum that surrounded her. The valley around them glowed faintly, reflecting her light.
Ow.
It was a sight beyond any dreamlike two worlds had touched for a brief heartbeat. Finally, Ethan spoke, his voice filled with wonder. "You're real? You're actually here?" Leora smiled gently, her face softening, real and fading. "Your world pulls at me. My body isn't made for this gravity, this air. Every second I stay, I'm burning energy that I can't recover." Fear pricked his heart. "Then you have to go back before it's too late." "I can't," she said simply. "Not yet." He stepped forward, his eyes pleading. "Because I didn't come this far, just to say hello and leave?" Her words hit him hard. There was fire in her voice, no gentle, but firm. "I wanted to see what courage looks like, what hope feels like. You sent your voice into the dark every night, not knowing if anyone was listening. You reached for something beyond your world. That's why I came." Ethan's chest tightened. He wanted to tell her that he hadn't been brave, that he had been lonely, that all he wanted was to not feel forgotten by the stars. But when he looked at her, he saw the reflection of something greater in her eyes, something that made his loneliness feel almost sacred. He whispered, "I wasn't brave, Leora. I was just alone." "And yet you kept looking up," she said softly. "That's bravery too." She took a careful step closer, her feet barely pressing against the wet grass. Ethan could feel the warmth coming from her body, now gentle, like sunlight through glass. His hand lifted on its own, trembling slightly. "Can I touch you?" he asked quietly. Her eyes softened. "If you do, the energy that holds me here might break. I might not stay long." Ethan swallowed hard. "Then it's okay, even if you fade. I just need to know you're real." Leora hesitated. Then, slowly, she reached out. Her fingers, glowing like liquid light, touched his hand. The world seemed to stop, the moment their skin met. Ethan felt warmth flood through him. It wasn't just heat. It was emotion, memories, energy. He saw flashes of her world's silver seas, floating cities, skies that burned with twin suns. He saw the loneliness she carried, the pain of being surrounded by perfection but feeling nothing. Tears filled his eyes. She whispered, her voice breaking, "Your world is so loud, so alive. I can feel your heartbeat, your breath. I can feel you." He held her gaze, his voice shaking, "And I can feel you too." For a few seconds they stood, their two beings connected by something beyond science. Human and alien, light and flesh, loneliness and hope. Then her body flickered. Ethan gasped. "Leora," she smiled through the fading light. "It's all right. I knew this would happen. I wasn't meant to stay long." "No," he whispered, his hand still holding hers. "You can't go. Not yet." "Ethan, listen to me." Her voice grew softer, weaker, like an echo fading through the stars. "Promise me you won't stop looking at the sky. Promise me you'll keep sending your voice, even if no one answers." He nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I promise." She smiled faintly, her hand glowing brighter, her outline turning to mist. "Then you'll never truly lose me. Because every time you look up, I'll be there somewhere in the light." Her fingers slipped from his, leaving only warmth behind. "Leora," he cried, reaching forward. But she was already fading, her light scattering into thousands of tiny sparks that drifted upward, vanishing into the clouds. The valley grew still again, the glow fading until only the rain remained. Ethan fell to his knees, his heart breaking and healing all at once. He looked up at the sky, at the place where she had vanished, and whispered, voice trembling, "I didn't look away." And for a moment, the clouds above shimmered faintly, as if answering him with light. The rain had stopped hours ago, but Ethan still sat there in the quiet valley, staring at the empty air where Leora had stood. The night was dark again, no glow, no warmth, just the cold whisper of the wind. Her light was gone, but he could still feel it faintly, like an echo in his chest. Every time he blinked, he saw her eyes again, those calm, endless eyes that had seen stars he couldn't even name. He whispered softly, "You really came." The valley didn't answer, but he felt something gentle in the air, a strange peace, as if the world itself had seen what he saw and was trying to comfort him. He closed his eyes and listened. The earth hummed faintly. Maybe it was the wind, or maybe some part of her energy still lingered. For the next few days, Ethan stopped sleeping, stayed awake, staring at the sky, waiting for her light to return. Every night, he turned on his radio and spoke softly into it, his voice cracked but steady. "Leora, if you can hear me, I'm still here. I kept my promise. I didn't look away." Static, then silence. But he kept speaking anyway.
It wasn't
about waiting for an answer anymore. It was about not letting her fade from the world. People from the nearby town began to talk. Some said they saw strange lights in the valley that night. Others said they heard a voice in the wind, whispering something in a language they didn't understand. But Ethan didn't care what anyone believed. He knew what he saw. One evening, a small meteor shower painted the sky. The streaks of silver light reminded him of her, soft, glowing, fleeting, smiled weakly, whispering, "You never really left, did you?" Night, he dreamed of her. She stood before him again, her light dimmer but still beautiful. Around her, stars swirled like waves. "Ethan," she said softly, "you kept your promise." He reached out, but she stepped back, her face calm and full of love. "Don't be sad. You gave me something I never had, someone who saw me, not just my light." He wanted to tell her that she gave him something to hope, but the words wouldn't come. His throat felt heavy. "You belong to your world," she continued. "You have to live it, not wait for the stars to return." "Will I ever see you again?" he asked, his voice breaking. She smiled faintly. "You already do. Every time you look up, every time you feel the wind or hear the rain, you'll see me there." The dream began to fade, her voice stretching like a whisper across time. "Don't look away, Ethan. Not ever." He woke with tears on his face, but for the first time in weeks, he felt warmth instead of pain. Morning sunlight poured through the window, golden and soft. The air smelled like rain. He walked outside, barefoot, feeling the cool earth under his feet. The world looked brighter, somehow more alive. He built a small tower of stones at the place where she had stood. It wasn't much, just a few rocks and a metal piece from his radio, but it felt right. A marker of something real, something beautiful. As he placed the last stone, he whispered, "You crossed the stars to find me, and I'll never forget." For a brief moment, the light caught on the edge of the stones, glimmering softly, like a heartbeat of light. Ethan smiled through the tears. Days turned into months. Ethan kept talking to the stars. But now his voice wasn't lonely. It was full of stories, stories of the earth, of laughter, of little things she would never see. He wanted her to know what life felt like here. Sometimes he swore he heard something faint on the other end of the signal, a pulse, a shimmer, like someone whispering his name from very far away. And every time he felt that, his heart filled with quiet joy, he whispered, "I'm still looking, Leora. I'm still here." Then he would tilt his head back and watch the stars burn softly against the night. He no longer waited for her to appear, because she already had once, when it mattered most. That single meeting had changed everything. And though she was gone, her last words stayed alive in his heart steady, eternal like starlight itself. Don't look away. Ethan never did. Years passed quietly, like soft wind over the hills. Ethan grew older, but his eyes never lost that spark when he looked at the night sky. The valley where he met Leora became his favorite place, sacred, peaceful, full of memory. He still visited it every evening, carrying the same old radio he had once used to call into the void. Sometimes he would sit for hours, just listening to the soft hum of static, letting his thoughts drift. He didn't expect her voice anymore, but somehow that silence made him feel close to her. It was as if the quiet was filled with everything they had shared, the warmth, the words, the promise. One summer night the air was strangely still. The stars shone brighter than usual, like 1,000 eyes watching kindly from above. Ethan sat by the stone marker he had built for her, fingers brushing the cold metal piece on top. He whispered softly, "It's been a long time, Leora. I still kept my promise." He smiled, though his voice shook a little. I didn't look away, and for the first time in years, his radio made a sound, not static, not wind, but a pulse, a soft, rhythmic tone. His heart jumped. He turned the knobs, leaning close. The sound grew stronger, like a heartbeat echoing across space. Then a voice, faint, distant, but real. Then his breath caught. The world seemed to stop. He pressed the radio closer, his hands trembling. "Leora?" He whispered silence, then a weak reply. "You kept your promise." His eyes filled with tears. "Leora, you're alive?" "Not alive. Not the way you are," the voice said softly, breaking between the static. "But I found a way to reach through the light. To see you one last time." Ethan looked up at the stars. And then he saw it, one of them pulsing brighter than the rest. Slow, steady, almost like a heartbeat. The same rhythm as the sound coming through the radio. "You see it?" She whispered. His lips trembled. "Yes, I see you." "Then don't look away." Her words hit him with the same warmth as all those years ago. He couldn't speak. He could only stare up at that glowing star, shining so brightly that tears blurred his vision. "I crossed the stars again," she said, voice fading. "Not to stay, but to remind you. That light never really dies, Ethan. It just travels." He whispered through shaking breath, "I never forgot you. Weren't supposed to. You remembered enough. For both of us." The radio crackled, her voice growing weaker. "Live, Ethan. Tell them what it means to look up. Tell them what it means to hope." "I will," he promised, wiping his eyes. "I will." For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, one last whisper, soft as wind. "Thank you. For seeing me." The signal faded. The star pulsed one last time, a flash so bright it painted the valley in silver light, and then it softened, steady again among the thousands. Ethan sat there quietly. The night felt alive around him. He could still feel her presence in every flicker of light, every breath of wind. And though she was gone once more, he didn't feel empty this time. He finally understood. She hadn't come to stay. She had come to show him that connection, real connection, could cross even the cold distance between stars. Years later, people would find Ethan's journal. In its pages, they found his words, gentle, full of wonder. There was someone out there. She wasn't from our world. But she understood what it means to be human, to love, to reach, to keep looking up. She crossed the stars to see me, and when she said, "Don't look away," she wasn't just talking to me. She was talking to all of us. Those words spread. They inspired scientists, dreamers, and children to look at the night sky with new eyes. The radio frequency Ethan used became a symbol, humanity's heartbeat. Sent out into the dark, waiting for someone to answer, and sometimes, when the sky was clear, a single star would pulse brighter for a few seconds. As if winking in return, no one could explain it. But those who knew the story smiled quietly and said, That's her. She's still watching. Ethan passed peacefully under that same sky one night, the radio beside him still humming softly. His last smile was calm, like a man who had seen something eternal and carried it in his heart forever above him. The stars burned bright. One pulsed gently, as if whispering across the light years, "Don't look away." And humanity never did.